Oh God.
You know, it's funny. Family Guy did a skit on that. That's
Yes.
another show altogether.
Yes. There's a guy in Vegas who's a Peter Griffin impersonator, and he looks like him. He's just as fat, and he has the same face, and he has the exact
Nice.
same accent like Seth MacFarlane does. The guy is
Oh,
oh, I got if I find the video again, I'm going to send it
you,
to you.
you send it to me because I want to watch that.
And oh, American Dad, I know a guy who looks like Agent Dan Smith
Like
and talks
Stan Smith.
Stan Smith. And
He's like Stan Smith is a coward.
what's the song? USA, and he's got the chin. He's got the build, the big chin like Jay Leno, and he's got the same voice, the same deep voice because he does commercial voiceovers. But I told him about American Dad, and he goes, "What's that?" I says, there's a cartoon that's exactly like you, William. And you got to see it. He saw it, and he got like kind of offended because he's really like kind of egomaniacal. And I says,
Oh yeah.
that guy's just like you. He talks like you. He looks like you. You know, because William is like George Reeves from the old Superman series. He's got that build, the same look, but he's got a big chin like Stan Smith. You know,
you know what that look is called? That look is called being a man.
Yeah, it's called
That's
being
what
a
men
man.
are supposed to look like.
He's got
They're not supposed to look like what's out there now.
Oh,
sir.
you mean like a metrosexual, like Richard said?
It's disgusting.
Richard said he's got a big neck, big, wide, broad shoulders. He's got a V-shaped torso.
God bless him.
You know, I mean, yeah. Well, he was second string quarterback for the Jets way back in the in the '60s, and you know, he turned to commercial voiceovers, and you know, he naturally talks just like this. He doesn't have to do Ted Baxter like on the Mary Tyler Moore. He doesn't have to do the voice. He is naturally has the voice. You know.
Oh yeah.
He's like, "Hi, how are you, Dr. Remulak? I'm very pleased to meet you." And he's got a powerful handshake and everything. He's like, man.
He's a real man.
And the girls, he's a magnet. The girls are drawn to him when they hear his voice. They're all over him, you know. And I says, God bless you, man. I says, you know, you exude machismo and animal magnetism, like they used to say when I was a kid. You know, you the Kavorka, like on Seinfeld. You know, you have the Kavorka.
Well, yeah, there's that whole thing called pheromones.
Yes.
And if you recall from health class, the guys that always wore a lot of cologne, and the guys that always wore the tons of underarm deodorant, always had the ugliest looking wife.
Oh,
who was awful. She's not sexually attractive, nothing. And it's because our bodies are designed to attract to each other.
Yes.
Through chemical physiology.
Physiology, that is true.
So I mean that's the way it's supposed to be. And you know, everybody thinks, oh, I gotta look pretty, I gotta smell pretty, I can't have facial hair and and meanwhile, I'm looking at these people saying, wow, not only am I frightened by you, but I'm frightened for our humanity.
All the dudes are all buzzing their body hair off. They're all like, they're even buzzing their pubes.
That's the lack of testosterone.
Yeah, it's like...
We're talking about the middle class today.
Goyles were goyles and men were men. Remember the Archie Bunker song? Da, da, da,
oh, yeah. And he could say anything he wanted on there because that was a character.
Well, that show was ahead of its time, and so were a lot of shows, you know. I mean, hey, man, Mae West was ahead of her time when her and W.C. Fields, the stuff they used to come out with, you know. But anyway, let me get rolling here. Okay, and never needed to. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this week's Progressive Discussions. I'm your host, James P. Madonna of Mega Life 21. I'm here with my guest and co-host, Dr. Remulak. How are you doing this week, sir?
I am doing phenomenal, sir. Thanks for asking. And yourself?
Okay, hanging in there. One time this a female who that I used to work with, who's rich. She says, "Oh, she still is rich, by the way." She says, "Oh, James, you're only hanging in there." I said, "No, I actually won the Powerball lottery, and I'm so happy. I feel like I have a feather up my ass. That's how happy I am because I'm just loaded with loot, with pirate booty." I says, "Yeah, I'm only hanging in there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm only hanging in it. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna say, I really had a horrible week. How much time do you have? Do you have a lawn chair? Do you want to relax so I can tell you everything?" And they'll walk away
What?
from you. They'll walk away. So anyway, 7 lucky bells for this week's show. And everything we discussed politically is part of our series, Capitalism in a Conch Shell. And there's the conch. Let's see if King Neptune has anything to say. Yeah, King, don't worry. I will talk about the middle class. They will not be neglected or forgotten. Yes, yeah, the millennials. Yeah. This is your official a millennial bashing headquarters for 2018. Yes, okay. Send them to Davy Jones's locker. Okay. Some of them do belong down there. Okay, bye. You have to have a visual of what I'm doing. But okay, here we go. 8 timer begin. I want to start off by saying that you people out there often hear the words middle class every once in a while, but not often enough. The middle class are obviously and unfairly being strangled with the tax burden in this country today, the United States of America. But there's more to the middle class than just being abused and overtaxed. The middle class are the true consumers of America. They are the backbone of our economy. They are the true job creators, more so than the big corporations. We're talking about small emerging growth companies. We're talking about mom and pop stores. We're talking about Main Street. We're talking about uh, um, professionals that hang their shingle out. So your certified public accountants and such. We're talking about your small retail shops, your butcher, your baker, your fishmonger, so on and so forth. Uh, Everything that makes up so-called quote unquote Main Street, uh, small companies. Now, these are the companies that provide the most jobs, and these are the people, these middle class individuals, including hardworking, full-time, middle-class people that don't have their own business, that happen to be working for a company, and they might have went to college, or they might have went to vocational technical school, let's say technical school. They have a trade, they have a skill, they get paid fairly well, and they're being overtaxed. All these individuals are the number one positive contributor to this country. They're being neglected. They're being abused through heavy taxation. And in my opinion, they should get all of the tax breaks, not the top 2%, not the oligarch, not the elitists, but the middle class backbone of America should get all the tax breaks because they will provide the most jobs, as well as being the number one consumers. So, that being said, I don't know how much time I have left. I think I used up my 8 minutes. But
You did not. You got 5 minutes, sir.
you're kidding me. I said all that,
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. I did my math wrong. You've got 3 minutes
you know
starting
what?
now.
That's okay. I'm going to switch because I think I said all I can really think of about the middle class, but we'll embellish later on. I want to talk about millennials. Uh, And this week, and I want to throw in a little reverse racism. Uh, Millennials, especially today, where I went to the buffet for lunch, there are waitresses there that are that know me. Some of them are older generation, a few of them are millennials. But let me tell you, the ones of older generation, they're the ones that came up to me and say, "Hi, James, how was your week? How are you? How you been? We haven't seen you. Last time we saw you was last Friday." I go, I talk, I was friendly, but the millennials, nothing. No, hi, how was your week? How are you? Nothing. Almost like they were like looking down on me, like they were better than me, almost like they were like elitists almost, or it could be age discrimination. It could be a reverse discrimination because they were of color and I am not. I'm Caucasian. Uh, Head general manager of the Dollar Tree in Lodi, very rude and nasty to me every time I go in there. He's a very dark skinned man from Guyana, and he treats me like shit. Now, I bite my tongue because I know the people that work for him. I don't want to make it hard on the people I know. But one of these days, I'm going to explode. I'm going to flip out on the motherfucker. He's short. Maybe he has a Napoleonic complex, perhaps.
Let me see what we're talking about.
I'm done. It's all yours, Dr. Running-Lack.
We started. We are always, between you and I and everyone listening, we're always going to speak about the millennials because they are always going to be just at the very frontal part of the back of our mind. Because eventually they have to take care of all of us, and we're screwed. We can work on something to get that problem solved. The biggest problem is we have to break them away from that technology in their hand, cooking their brains and cooking their reproductive organs. Because those children they are going to have being exposed to this 4G, LTE, and the 5G coming out is going to be awful. Now, the middle class. You were saying it's Main Street America, and you're right, it is. It is. Auto body shops, parts stores, the local hardware store, the local paint shop, your local Meineke, that's actually a franchise that guy owns, and he has to pay fees to use their name. That stuff is being overwhelmed and removed from the fabric of our country. And it's being done very easily. And that's what's frightening.
Yes.
It is happening right underneath your eyes, right underneath your noses. It's happening right there. And everyone says, well, what can we do about it? I hate that. I hate when someone looks at me and says, well, that's the way it is. What can you do about it? And I look at those people, and this is what I tell them. Well, if George Washington, Samuel Adams, and William Penn, and the countless other settlers said that and had that attitude, where the F would we be right now? Where would we be? We wouldn't be here. We would be under the control of British rules. So here's the deal. The middle class is overworked, overtaxed, underappreciated, and abused. Not, physically, but we are abused. We are the punching bag for the elitists, and surprisingly enough, a lot of the middle class in our price range, they fall toward the elitist side, even though they're getting fucked just as bad as we are. It's not fair, and you ask, you're worried about millennials. We've got to solve one problem at a time, or we're not going to solve any problem. You see what I mean?
Yep.
We got to solve one problem at a time, and we're not going to be able to solve the millennial problem. You are not going to be able to fight those tech companies and those companies that are destroying that generation if you don't solve the money worry problems. And the money worry problems are at home. Mom and dad talking at the dinner table. I don't know if we have enough money this week. Shit. That's awful. But this is what's happening. So, to solve this middle class problem, I'm open for ideas because I've thought about it since I've been working. I started paying probably 21% tax when I was 17, and now I'm paying 28% income tax on what was a measly paycheck. It's no longer measly because, again, as Americans, we have the choice to better ourselves. We have opportunity here. This is the land of opportunity. So why is the middle class suffering? Why have we not stood up and said, you know what, if you take taxes out of my pay, I'm going to sue you until we get a fair tax rate? And I'm sure somebody is listening who knows somebody who's a pro bono attorney who would take this case. I guarantee it.
Well, during the Revolutionary War, it was called no taxation.
We can't have that anymore. But wait a minute. We can't have a Revolutionary War anymore because the minute someone walks down the street with a sidearm that's holstered or a rifle strapped across their back with the bolt out and no rounds in the chamber, they get tackled. So this needs to be done. It is a new term, James. I don't know if you've heard it yet. It is called lawfare. L-A-W fair. Like warfare. Yeah. It's lawfare.
Well, I was going to
say,
and
that is what is happening to. I don't know if you have been keeping up with what's been going on, but certain conservative websites, certain conservative commentators getting sued for no reason. Frivolous lawsuits that are getting thrown right out, but they're thrown in the media's face. And again, when you have a generation like the millennials with their faces in that phone, and that phone is telling them everything they need to see and hear, there's where your problem lies. That's why you'll never win this middle-class fight. I am tired of being the left's punching bag and bankroll, and I'm sure you are too.
Well,
I have 3 minutes. Yeah. I have 3 minutes left, but I will concede back to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Talk. No, I didn't realize.
No. That's all I have. That's what I wanted to bring into the discussion. We are being abused.
I wasn't gonna. No.
We are underappreciated.
Yeah.
I want to see everyone here, everyone in the United States that's here legally, and I mean a streamlined immigration reform. We're talking if we can actually identify who you are, check your background. If they can find a pimple on my ass for space, they can certainly square away this mess that we call our immigration system. Your friend waiting 8 years to get a tourist visa is absurd.
18
years to get a tourist visa? You're out of your fucking mind.
Well, it's actually 18 to get a legal green card, and over 8 years with lots of financial questions to get a tourist visa for my girlfriend's sister, which is unfair because it's only a tourist visa.
I understand that, but we do have to still protect our interests because some people, not your girlfriend's sister,
right,
but there are some people that try to get a tourist visa that shouldn't be here to begin with. I mean, what about that visa lottery program? That worked really well. Really well. I mean, the two shooters from San Bernardino, the shooter, the guy who ran over the people in New York, both these guys, all three of these people came here on a lottery program. Yeah, guess who lost that lottery? The American people.
The victims.
14 of them out. 14 of them in San Bernardino, and 6 in New York, plus the ones that got maimed and lost limbs. So we got to fix. We've got to get control of this government. The only way you're going to do it, I'm seeing it now, is lawfare. And I'll concede back my 8 minutes. My 1 minute. You tell me what you think.
No,
I'm
no, no.
resetting.
I play fair. No, keep on talking for 60 seconds. I'm a fair guy.
All right.
All right.
That's what I feel. I've been a middle class man my whole life. My whole life. My father was, and the middle class system failed him because he worked his ass off, James. He worked his ass off, and could never provide for his family.
That's
He
tough.
did.
That's tough, man. And when you're doing the best you can, working your ass off, and you can't,
Yeah.
make ends meet.
He had aspirations. He wanted to bring his kids on vacation. Vacations were few and far between. Every day, every year I went back to school, I had to hear kids say, "Oh, I went to Cancun, I went to Jamaica, I went down here, I went there. Oh, I was out in California all summer." You know where I went? Wayne, New Jersey. Didn't go anywhere. Didn't have the money. I don't know what that's like. And I don't know how you get that kind of money, James. My minute's up. But I don't know how you get that kind of money.
I don't know. Well, anyway, getting back to, I didn't mean Revolutionary War, even though the only way to take out evil is really to be like an old-fashioned surgeon and
fire with fire,
and manually. Sometimes you have to manually cut out the tumor, so to speak. But I meant taxation without representation. That's what I was going to say after the words Revolutionary War. I was going to say about the taxation system, like holding people accountable, holding their feet to the fire, knowing where our friggin' tax money is going, and things like that, and getting rid of the bloat, which are the cheaters, and all forms of cheating. You name it, it's got to go. You got a Congress and a Senate that makes like 175,000. Excuse me, 175,000 a year, not counting perks, and they work far less than part-time hours. But they're telling you, we the people, that we have to start making sacrifices, but they don't make sacrifices. We have to make sacrifices, but they don't. But and you should see them run when they go on vacation break from the Capitol building. They're all scattering like freaking soldier ants in the jungle. But this is how it has to be, like the old days. People held accountable, and no one is above the law. And of course, censorship is anti-First Amendment. And when you talk about the glory days about concerning the economy and the middle class was doing pretty damn good, you're talking probably about the Eisenhower years of the 1950s. The Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best, Robert Young. Those years. Where a man can afford to have his wife be a homemaker, and the kids, the family ate together, had their meals together, and they discussed things, and the parents took the time to get involved with their kids and their community. And the most importantly is that all middle class people and millennials, if they stop being so damn selfish, would register to vote and make sure they vote in every major election. And this is all very important. It's like, remember, if the rich pay their fair share in taxes, guess what? They're still living high on the hog. When the middle class are paying too much in taxes, all their money is going towards taxes and bills. In other words, there's no surplus cash left over for the middle class to put back into the economy. Spending, surplus spending cash. And this is what stimulates the economies, when the middle class are able to shop and put that extra surplus money back into the economy by making more purchases. Like when Henry Ford said he wants to make sure his employees can afford to buy one of his cars, one of the cars that they make. Pretty smart idea. Costco, the CEO of Costco, I hear, is a pretty decent guy. You know, they treat their employees very well, as opposed to a dildo head bozo Bezos of Amazon. You know, and now I hear he's getting worse than ever as far as greed. I think he surpassed Mark Zuckerberg, Zuckerbeak geek, as far as being nitpicky and greedy and wanting to charge for every little friggin' thing. But the worst part is when they spy on us and they read our emails and our instant messages and so on and so on. You know, I hear Google does it, but you know something? If it's true that Google's doing what Facebook's doing, what Zuckergeek is doing, I got an itch right in the middle of my forehead that I'm scratching right now. And you can guess which finger is scratching my forehead. Okay,
I'm mirroring your image, brother.
All right.
I'm mirroring your image. I know exactly what you're doing.
Hey, people, jabronis out there, you want to scrutinize the shows that I do with Mick Von Raven and Dr. Remulak? You could watch our shows. I don't give a fuck if you watch our shows. It's too damn bad because we respect the First Amendment, and it is what it is. So, Dr. Remulak, talk to the people while I check on something of importance, and I'll be back in a flash.
Well, like James was saying, the First Amendment is our right to redress the government and take care of what we need to get out. It gives us our right to have our religion. It gives us our right to have our freedom of the press, unfortunately, which has become overtly and completely atrocious. There's only a few radio stations, no matter where I am in the country, I would listen to. I don't have the funds to, get the satellite radios, and I don't even have cable because there's no need to waste that money. If there's nothing good on TV, and I can't find something on that incredible thing called smartphone, then I pick up a book. And most of the time, I'd rather pick up a book. But James was saying Bezos and Zuckerberg. I got some words for that. And since I've got the run here, I might as well say it. Bezos, from what I've heard, has been rumored to have worked for the CIA. He's got tons of money because of what he did while working for them. And that's why he's as big as he is. If you don't think that this is a grand design at this point, where I hear people say, oh, you're just lucky. He was lucky. He's lucky. You can't be that fucking lucky. The man owns the Washington Compost. You can't be that lucky. He is part of the problem where he has automation. I have friends who are travelers that travel for work. They have families in a home state, and their wives usually take care of the business at home, and they're out on the road in their RVs, and they go to jobs, and Amazon employs a lot of these people. And they build their factories. And these people are making good money. I got to tell you, I've met a bunch, and I wish I could make that kind of money. I can't make that kind of money because I can't sell my soul. Knowing that plant is going to put 7,000 people out of work. Ladies and gentlemen, that is destroying the middle class. Mark Zuckerberg, before we had Facebook, we had, holy shit, face-to-face contact. Now we have text messages. I can't stand text messages. I can't stand them. And I'll tell you why. When I speak to somebody, my ears and my brain can decipher whether that person is happy, sad, something's really wrong, everything's okay, if they're mad at me, the inflection in your voice, the inflection, the emotion that comes out of your mouth when you speak to another human being is what makes us civilized. And he, James constantly speaks of the millennials. He has this vitriol, loathing for them, and I do too. But I have got to tell you, I work with some of that group of people, and they are, yes, they're selfish, but they're good at what they do. They need to readjust their moral competence, and that's what I have to say. I mean, the millennials there, they've fallen into this trap of that spying is okay, that the government can do whatever it wants to you because you belong to them. You know what I really hate? I don't know if James is back or not.
I'm back, sir.
But you know what I really hate is when you call the IRS, and the IRS puts you on hold. And have you ever listened to their hold message, James?
No.
Their hold message says, we value our customers' time. Let me ask you. Wait. You know why you found that funny? And I'll tell you why most of the people who are listening don't understand why you laughed. I'll tell you why. Because as a customer, if I walk into Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, I can say, you know what? I don't want to buy this stuff. I'm going to put it back on the shelf and I'm going to walk out of here. Try saying that to the IRS.
Can't do that.
tell the IRS that, you know what? Until you can prove to me that I owe you this $1,800, I'm not paying it.
Well,
and I guarantee you this, sir. I guarantee you this. Within a year, you will be in jail for that $1,800.
Well,
now,
the late Irwin Schiff, who is dead now,
you're back. I'm going to hit play again. I timed your time. Go for it.
No, I mean, Irwin Schiff, as a youth, when I used to watch the Tom Snyder show, God rest his soul, also, the Tomorrow Show, Irwin Schiff said it's unconstitutional to pay, I don't know if he meant paying any federal income taxes, but to be, I guess, to be overtaxed like the middle class are being. I mean, it's just I wasn't in the room to hear what you said, but I'm sure you made a lot of sense. But I laugh because when you get put on hold, in a lot of cases, they play very depressing saxophone music, especially Social Security Administration. you want to blow.
If you want to hear a funny hold song,
want to blow your brains
if you want to
out.
hear a funny, no, I have a funny hold song for you. You call the company Advanced Door Technologies in Stroudsburg, PA.
Yeah.
And when you get put on hold, close your eyes, and the music sounds like it came from a 1977 porno.
Holy shit.
Oh,
you mean like
and when I call that company, I have an acquaintance that works there. Every time he answers his extension, I'll say, "Shit, put me back on hold. I'm almost done."
Well, I did like the song to Candy Samples Goes to Hollywood. Candy does Hollywood or Goes to Hollywood. It was like a funny version.
I don't watch porno.
It was a funny version of Staying Alive. Staying Alive. Da, 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 da. It had Candy Samples walking to Hollywood. Hollywood Walk of Fame, But anyway, I know what you mean. The old days of Harry Reams and Ron Jeremy and so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, it's not even that. We have a severe problem with the middle class, and you hit the nail on the head too. The main thing is that we're underappreciated, I think. Without our money, they're screwed. They're screwed.
I forgot one more thing about the middle class. They have an untapped power known as the boycott.
Oh, these little bastards.
Boycotting. Very powerful.
It's not, though. You know why I know it's not? Because most people that got boycotted by this stupid March for Our Lives, how about our government, instead of spending billions of dollars overseas, did the same thing they did for the banks and all the buildings? Have you been to New York City lately, James? You live 15 miles.
You know, when I was there, I haven't been in Midtown Manhattan for like over a decade. But then when my friend came from when my girlfriend came from San Diego, we took the bus into Port Authority, 42nd Street, 8th Avenue, this past October of 2017, and I felt like I was in a giant ant farm with people rushing to and fro, milling about. It was insanity. It was insanity.
But what I was saying was, try to get into a major building in New York without having an actual ID or visitor's pass, without going through a metal detector. And here's the deal.
Just walk in.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. The schools, you can just walk in. We left our most prized possession, the children of this country, the future of our country. We left these people completely and utterly helpless. And then Joe Biden, creepy Uncle Joe, in 1990, as a senator, put forth the Gun-Free Zone Act. Every school zone shall be gun-free.
Yeah, but
now I have a question. I have a question for that. I have a real question. If I live in a school zone and I own weapons, do I have to give up my arm? That's a good question, right?
Yeah.
But the criminals, like you were about to say, the criminals, if you're a criminal, if you are a habitual speeder, you've gotten hundreds of tickets, you've paid the fine, and you continue to speed, you are a criminal, because eventually you are going to kill someone. However, let's call it what it is. A criminal does not follow the law. Go ahead.
Yeah, the scoff laws. They don't respect the law. They don't follow the law, and the criminal will always get their weapons through the black market anyway. So how the hell is gun control legislation going to do anything for protecting people if the criminals will get their guns from the back of some van or a truck or something?
You're right. You're right. Unfortunately, when you have, and here's my thing with immigration, like you had said, 18 years for citizenship is it's unacceptable. If this person is a functioning part of society, if they are here, they are working, they are contributing with their income tax, they're contributing with their property tax, they don't break the law, and they've been here for 5 years.
No, just a green card.
I think
18 years, not citizenship.
No, and that's what I'm saying. It needs to be streamlined. Where, okay, 5 years. If you screw it up, if this is a probation period, that's what I'm going to call it. You're not guilty, but we want to make sure you're worth our while. And the problem is that when you sit there and hold certain people for 18 years, I can see why there's an illegal immigration problem at the border. Because there have been people waiting on border towns for 2 decades. I've been here with my family for 2 decades waiting to get in. What the F's going on? We've run out of food. We've got no clean water, no place to take a shit. You know, I can understand why you would just walk across the fucking open border. A wall is a great idea. I'd rather see a group of American people go down there, literally go down to the border with their arms and their camper trailers and their motorhomes, and we just sit there. We don't shoot anybody, but we stand there and we say, listen, you want to come in, we're going to send you through the door, we're working on immigration, hang out for a few months, we're getting this work done. You know, I think that's what needs to happen. I don't think we need to show the military. I think we need to show the compassion that we all know American people have, because otherwise we wouldn't let these fucking people in. Well, let's call it what it is. Well, if we had no compassion, we would be out there right now. We would be out there right now with an ICE fucking 18-wheeler going to every undocumented immigrant and saying, oh, you don't have papers? Get in the truck. You don't have papers? Get in the truck. Okay? And they're doing it, but they're not doing it here. They're doing it in Mexico. They're taking these families and putting them in non-refrigerated, non-ventilated fucking box trucks and bringing them up by the truck road, and these people are dying in trucks.
You know all those farms in the deep south that relied on the migrant farm workers from Mexico, and it's they all split. They all abandoned the farms, and the vegetables rotted. They rotted.
Did you know that there is a migrant farm worker union? Did you know that?
Well, how could you have a union if you're not a citizen?
Because migrant farmers are citizens. Migrant farmers does not mean immigrant farmers. Migrant farmers means groups of people.
Oh, okay.
That travel from state to state when the crops are ready to be picked. That is their job.
Okay.
That is their job. That is a migrant farmer.
So they're nomadic. They're nomadic people.
That word got PC'd out, because if you call somebody a nomad, it means that they have no place to live, so you're insulting them.
Oh, like a Bedouin in the Sahara Desert in North Africa. Bedouins are nomadic. No, they go where the work is. Like, in other words, that's right. Yeah, whatever.
So if corn is ready in Iowa, they'll go to Iowa.
Potatoes.
If the strawberries are ready in California, they'll go to California.
Right, or they go to Idaho.
But
Idaho for potatoes.
For potatoes or tomatoes or whatever.
Artichokes.
But the main thing is this: the middle class is being swamped out by this undocumented immigration mess.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. If you're here, listen, do you have a lock on your door at home, James?
Yeah, I have two. I wish I had better ones, but I have them. Yeah.
You have locks on your front and back door and your garage door?
I got locks on every door.
Wow. Why would you do that?
Because I don't trust man, woman, or beast. That's why, like Conan the Barbarian.
Well, then why are we not having secured borders? I don't want someone coming into my house when I'm home and when I'm not home, unless I invite them to.
Well, I mean, many countries have more secured borders than we do. Much more secure than we do.
Oh, really? You know that omnibus bill had money in it to secure the borders of Egypt and Libya, but didn't have money to secure our border. I don't want it in pieces. I want you to take 100,000 people who are unemployed, and bring them down there, relocate them. I will pay to relocate American citizens to the southern border. Hire people in Texas, Arizona. I'm sure between Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico and California, you can find 100,000 people who are unemployed.
You know what? You got a point. Now let me ask you.
Train them. And make them build that wall.
Let me ask you a question.
And pay them.
when Donald Trump announced that he was going to send some U.S. Army
National
personnel,
Guard.
National Guard or whatever, to
National
the
Guard.
border. He says, well, they're going to be there for like moral support, but they're not going to apprehend or intercept anyone crossing the border, which I kind of got confused. I mean, if somebody, if somebody
Ye-
comes out, if a bunch of people come out of a tunnel with drugs, you mean to tell me the National Guard won't intercept them?
The National Guard will just stand there. And here's the deal. Let me explain something to
Like
you about the
Buckingham
National Guard.
Palace, like the Beefeaters, like in England, in London.
They will stand there,
Okay.
and that will. We are a superpower. Do we agree on that?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Our military is the most well trained, vile, and vehement military on the face of the
Yeah.
planet.
And not only that,
Okay.
jabronis, that
So
United
so
States reverse engineered alien crashes. So we have technology that the American public
they
is
don't.
unaware of.
Here's the deal. There is something I saw on that show you love, the conspiracy theory show, Jesse Ventura,
Jesse Ventura. Oh,
where
I gotta tell you a story.
a gentleman had built a microwave emitter. It was like a satellite dish, and it is capable of stopping a person because once the beam hits you, even if you have a mattress being held up in front of you, you won't be able to walk forward. And it's not doing anything except emitting an electrical pulse. So if you think that we couldn't absolutely secure our border with an invisible wall, you're nuts. I think we should do that. I think we should have something that is just towers along the border, and in between those towers are an invisible force field. And when you walk up to it and touch it, it shocks you and you back off.
Yeah, like a stun gun.
That's what.
Yeah, like a stun gun.
Not even a stun gun. Not even a stun gun. Just something enough to show, oh, you can't climb this.
Hey, technology, I mean, forget it. I mean, every year that goes by, I see things that blow my mind. We are so advanced. Whether you want to call it, whether you want to give kudos to Nikola Tesla or to alien crashes, whatever. Technology is going at a rapid. He was screwed, by the way.
Nikola Tesla. If you go to the FBI conspiracy page, the number one listing on there says, we do not have Nikola Tesla's inventions.
Yeah, sure, right.
Why would you tell me that? Why would you bring that up if you didn't have them? They gave up their, listen, they blew their wad when they typed that. When the guy who typed that into the computer and then hit enter, he finished at the same time. He was like, here's enter, click, oh God. That's what happened.
Yeah, but
because that's what they did.
But Dr. Remy,
when you tell somebody that's not asking you that you don't have something, you have something.
Yeah, but then,
human nature.
When Nikola Tesla died alone in that New York City hotel room, the FBI rushed in there mighty quick and confiscated everything. They did.
Yes, they did.
They did, yeah. He the owner or the manager of the hotel building said that occasionally the building would shake like an earthquake, and he says that's Nikola Tesla playing with one of his inventions again. He worked with sound waves. He worked, of course, there was the death ray that the Nazis were after. Hitler was really after that death ray. And then there's reverse engineering from alien crashes in Siberia and in Germany and the U.S. That I mean, heaven forbid we the people should know any details. There's HARP, weather manipulation. But I want to tell you.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Wait, let me tell you something.
Woo! Yes.
Being in the Northeast currently, in April. By the way, I want to give I want to I want to pay my condolences to the victims of Columbine massacre 19 years ago.
Yes.
I should mention that it was a sad event. Again, oversight was missed. Oversight was lacking. Parental controls were lacking. And too many doctors put too many drugs in too many kids. But back to reality.
Mm-hmm.
If people don't believe there's weather manipulation, it is the 20th of April, and it's going to go to 28 degrees tonight here.
Yeah.
It's not fair. I'm not happy about this, and I don't think anybody else should be either. And let me explain something to the liberal morons. Let me explain something to the liberal morons that are concerned about carbon dioxide. Every living plant on the planet Earth lives on carbon dioxide. You want cleaner air? Stop cutting down fucking trees.
Here, here. I agree.
End of fucking story.
Hey, look at the rainforest.
Stop cutting down trees. Stop cutting down trees. Because the minute you start planting trees, give it 25 years. Plant the forest next to Los Angeles. And in 25 years, that air will be crystal clear, and it'll still have the same amount of people, if not more.
Well, the ozone.
Don't give me your horseshit global warming.
The ozone layer, carbon dioxide, the ozone, the protective shield, I watch the Science Channel, and our protective shield from, let's say, solar storms or solar flares is not what it used to be. But trees, if you want to know how fresh and pure air can be, just take a drive, from where we live to Sussex County, New Jersey, and Morris County, Lake Hopatcong, Bud Lake, or go up to Sparta.
I was out that way this week, and I have to tell you something. I grew up in New Jersey, and then I left to find something better. And I came in from the Morristown area on Route 24. I'm sure you know that road.
Yes.
And I was on one of the hills, coming down one of the hills, and I looked out in front of me, and it was a rainy, shitty day. Foggy, rainy, nasty out, cold. I had the heat on in the truck. And I looked out, and I picked up my phone, which I never do, and my aunt lives in Florida. And she was born in 1950. She's a wonderful lady. I love my aunt to death. It's my mom's sister, the only sister I speak to. I have an aunt that lives in a northern area of New Jersey that doesn't speak to me. And I don't speak to her, and that's fine. But I sent her the picture, and I said, wow, New Jersey is really beautiful even when it has no leaves on the trees. And it was this beautiful picture of the mountains in the distance. And the clouds were clearing over the mountain, and it was just this really great picture. And I'll tell you what, New Jersey could be a beautiful place if we actually started caring about its environment instead of worrying about fucking money.
Yeah, I mean, I used to...
What is New Jersey's motto, by the way? What is the state motto?
The Garden State?
What the fuck? Are you kidding me? I haven't seen a garden. I haven't seen a garden anywhere around here.
California is the true garden state. But when I used to go to my aunt and uncle's house on the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, because they're from Baltimore, I used to when you take I-95 down near going towards Philadelphia, you pass a lot of dairy farms, and you see livestock, and then I used to go to the hot air balloon festival in, I think it's Reddington or something, Reddington, New Jersey.
Reddington, New Jersey has a hot air balloon festival.
Yes.
But if you want to, let me tell you something that I did for the first time ever. I was coming up from South Carolina one time,
right,
and I hit a ton of traffic in D.C. And I didn't realize, but there's a ferry that goes from the Potomac River up to Delaware. It's like $60 with my trailer I had. And I took it, and avoiding all that traffic is worth it. I have Google Earth. But again, I was talking about the spying and the Zuckerbergs and the Bezos. And you had missed the fact that I brought up, I have heard a rumor that Jeff Bezos used to work for the CIA. Now, is it funny when you write his name out? Because when you said it, I wrote his name out. His name spells BSOS.
BSOS. It's B. What is it? B. Supposed B.
I believe it's BESOS.
Bezos. Oh, you mean like sound like a Greek name, like a Greek sound?
No, like SOS. Like we are screaming. I mean, he is pointing it at us right now. I mean, I was telling the listeners while you were gone, I'll fill you in piece by piece. I have neighbors because I because I live in a trailer.
Right.
I have to find specific places to park. And sometimes you can park at places where they allow mobile homes, park models, and regular campers. And I have a lot of friends who work for the company that is installing the conveyors at these Amazon factories. And I have one friend I love to death. He's from Southern California. One of those counties, by the way, that is going against the sanctuary state policy. God bless Orange County, California. Anybody listening out there? He was up here, and I love hanging out with Andy. Andy's a 53-year-old man. He's got a beautiful wife, Tammy, a great woman. They got four beautiful children, one of which works for the company that my friend works for. Anyway, I couldn't do that job, and he asked me why. And I said, I don't want to insult you. He said, you won't insult me. We're friends. And he goes, I've seen you without a shirt on. And he says weird things. He's from Southern California. And I said, well, I can't work for your company because I know when you're done building that facility, it's going to put 7,000 people out of a job. And he looked at me and said, I've never thought of it that way. I said, so the money is worth it. I understand you have 4 children and a house and responsibilities. I understand that. But your moral compass needs adjusting. And since we had that conversation, I still speak to him 3 times a week. In fact, when I got my new job, I got a company vehicle that's diesel. And he owns a diesel Dodge pickup truck, a 2500 4-door, and he pulls his beautiful RV with it. And I said, hey, I joined the diesel club. And he said, oh, I hope you got a big credit card because it's going to cost a lot of money to fix it when it breaks. I said, it's a company truck. He said, oh, you son of a bitch. And I said, well, it's a better company with better benefits, and I get respect from the owner. I work directly for the owner. It's a family-operated company. And listen, I've been praying. I don't know what your thoughts on prayer are. My thoughts on prayer are this. I pray every day. And if something happens good that I was praying about, well, some people chalk it up to coincidence. I chalk it up to my faith. Either way.
Well, I don't
but,
believe.
I think we started out as talking about middle class and taxation. Now, there's a great way to fix this problem. And this is for all the listeners who are tired of getting overtaxed and being the punching bag for the elitists and the poor. Because if you're against welfare, you're suddenly a racist. And if you're against the elitists, you're an extremist. Can we agree on that?
Well, the elitists have been literally getting off scot-free for decades. I mean,
that wasn't my question.
Well,
my question is, wait a minute. My question is, if you are against the elitists or you want to change that policy, you are considered an extremist.
Yeah, you're a radical. Yes or no? Well, radical.
Okay. Hey, wait. Now, if you're against welfare for people who are having an enormous number of children, you are considered a racist. Correct?
Well, that's a politically correct way of thinking. That's a pandering PC way of thinking.
All right, but the answer is yes. You agree with me that if you're against massive amounts of welfare, you are considered a racist, whether you're Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, but what about all the white rednecks that are collecting?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because here's the deal.
They're
The
collecting
minute
welfare.
no, wait. The minute most people hear the word welfare, you know what community they think of, sir?
The minority community.
Absolutely. Now, if you want to reverse that, you had said reverse racism at the beginning of the show. You were pretty upset about the guy at the Dollar Tree. Do you know why I don't go to Dollar Tree, sir?
Why?
You didn't do the research. It's owned by a foreign company that pays no federal income tax in the United States.
Oh, like General Electric. Oh, really? Huh. Hmm.
So I go to the Dollar, not Dollar Tree, the
Dollar
one
Zone.
over, you know, the 7-Eleven on Main Street in Lodi,
Yeah.
right next to the Aldi shopping center. If you,
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
I was in the Dollar Zone in
uh,
Saddlebrook today.
I got to tell you too. I met a very nice couple today. I went to the dollar store by the Burger King to see if they had that spray window cleaner because I like to use the aerosol can. It does a better
Okay.
job.
Okay.
And there was this older couple in there, and the man looked confused. And I said, "Hi, how are you, sir?" And he said, "Oh, I'm all right." I said, "What are you looking for?" He said, "I bought a cleaner here, and I don't remember what it was." And we got to talking, and anyway, they were married. They're married 60 years, and he was 89, and she's oh no, I'm sorry, he said 65 years.
Right.
So he's 30, he's 89, and she's in her 80s, and he just lost a grandson. He was a nice gentleman. His name was Anthony, and his wife's name was Phyllis. And I spoke to them for about 10 minutes, and then they didn't have what I needed, so I put back what I was going to buy and went over to the one by the 7-Eleven. There's always something fun to see in there. I saw a woman who looked like she might have been in those sandals they give you at the insane asylum or the Bergen Mental Hospital.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
She had a big old frizz hair,
yeah, I know.
and she was a good-looking woman. I mean, African-American woman. She was a good-looking woman, but she definitely was crazy.
Oh man.
I'm not gonna lie. Why would I lie? And I'm not a racist.
Well,
I'll be honest with you, James.
See
I've dated white and African Americans, and I'll tell you what, both sets of women are absolutely insane.
well, women of color are, in my opinion, more passionate and better in bed than any waspy flat ass,
Sure,
lily white chick.
sure. That's the rule of the jungle, and
Yes.
I will disagree because I had a girlfriend who's now married and has 3 children, and I still speak to her every day. By the way,
Right.
um, incredible, passionate, incredible.
Yeah.
We're talking 3 hours straight.
Wow.
Okay?
You know.
There are passionate ones on both sides of the fence. The problem is, I saw a picture on Twitter, James, of a disgusting looking fat woman. She was white. She was gross.
Yeah.
And she was carrying one of those picket signs that said, "My legs are open for refugees."
Oh, I saw that. She looked like one of the stereotypical Walmart shopper. Obese.
I love that you use that term.
She was.
That's what all my friends said
She was
when
obese.
I sent it back out over my text message.
She was obese.
I said, check this
Yeah,
out.
yeah, disgusting. Yeah, real. Yeah, fat. Yeah. But you know what? You hit the nail on the head before. We as a society have become so thin-skinned. Whether you be a rich elitist that doesn't want to hear the truth or any criticism, or whether you be, let's say, a minority person that doesn't want to hear people's honest, straight opinions either, so they'll call you a racist or a homophobe or a misogynist. If you say something against a man-hating, a carpet-munching lesbian like Hillary's friends, you're all of a sudden you're. Hey, I've been called that on Facebook. All right, I'm a misogynist. You're a misogynist. I don't know. I said you can call me anything you want. I says I'm going to tell you the truth based on facts. And if you want to call me misogynist, or you want to call me, whatever, homophobe, I says I don't believe. I says I used to buck heads with my late co-host because he was a closet. He says he wasn't. He was not a politically correct neoliberal, but in a lot of ways he was, because he believed in affirmative action and special treatment for for lobbying groups. Lobbying groups. I says I'm against that.
No.
Because you know why?
I don't feel that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I was told I couldn't apply for a vocational training programs and entrepreneurial programs because I was a Caucasian male and I was not allowed to apply for them. But if they told me if I was a woman of color, especially one without a husband and young kids, I can apply for everything. Everything.
And we've discussed this before, and I recall this conversation.
Yes.
Let me explain what happened here. I was on Twitter earlier this week, Tuesday, in between my transition from one position at one job to the new job.
Mm-hmm.
I went out in the morning. I had to go to the new job to fill out some paperwork, and then I had to go pick some stuff up at the store. And on my way home, I saw an accident on Route 46 by Outwater Lane.
Oh.
And somehow a Toyota RAV4 rear-ended a BMW, which then rear-ended a Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, and then somehow, I don't know how, the BMW ended up into a telephone pole head-on. And I hear the cop as I'm going through the El Nofi parking lot.
Okay.
I hear the cop asking the guy in the RAV4, what happened? The guy in the RAV4 can't speak a lick of the language of the country he is residing in. And the cop actually said, and I will give Lodi Police props for this. He said, and I heard him say this, how the fuck did you get a license if you can't speak the fucking language? And I yelled out the window of my GMC with a ton of miles on it, because your liberals are retarded. We cannot afford to have people in this country that are not here for the right reasons. Do you not grasp that concept? And you know what I want to hear the elitists say to me? You know what I want to hear them say to me, honestly and truly? And the people who are calling me a racist or a homophobic or cracker or anything else like that? I want to hear you stop talking. I want to hear you listen to me. I want you to hear me out. And then I want to hear you say these words.
Yeah.
I understand why you feel the way you feel. Because that would tell me that these folks that are the elitists who claim they're smarter than I am, or smarter than you, they're not smarter, James. They're not luckier. They met the right people who put them in the right direction.
Connections.
Now, here's the deal. My boss, who I worked for 3 years, he ended our contract after I gave him 2 weeks' notice. I said, look, I'm giving you my 2 weeks. I've given you a ton of time to increase my pay. We spoke about this, where we're getting peanuts, where certified nurses' aides are getting $8 an hour. Tire installers are getting between 10 and 11. That's not fair. Tire installing isn't for just young people. There are people out there that have made a career of this. And if you don't believe me, if you do not believe me, watch NASCAR.
Of course, we need people that know how to properly balance wheels and put new tires on. I don't
Thank you.
I don't
You know
disrespect I
why?
don't
You know why?
disrespect these
Because
people.
there's people like me who want to get home by 5 o'clock, and I want to get on the highway and go. I don't want to have a shake and worry about doing over 60. So we need proper people.
Freaking important,
And
man. Hey, well,
this
me,
this
yeah,
guy,
yeah,
well, a friend of mine who listens to our discussions,
right.
and I'm gonna say his name. My friend AJ. If he's listening, God bless you.
AJ,
Um,
greetings. Happy Friday evening to AJ.
so I said, he said, well, he's very blunt and cut and dry. Strict Catholic background, and I appreciate that because it means he's got a moral compass. Wonderful fiance or girlfriend. I love her. She's great. Got a great sense of humor. And he said, what do you expect to make? You're only putting tires on a car.
What?
And my comeback, wait. And my comeback was this. Hey, dumbass, what's the only part of your car that's supposed to touch the ground? And his girlfriend was in the truck at the time, and he was on Bluetooth. And I tell all of my friends who have children, don't answer the phone on Bluetooth when I call, because it's usually going to start with, what the fuck is going on?
Hey,
Okay?
unless you're that guy could teleport like on Star Trek, or he has a jetpack where he can fly through the sky. You know what? Don't put down people who install tires.
No, he wasn't. He was trying to make a point. I've known him a long time. I've known him for half my life. So I have a good rapport with my friends. I have a lot of very close friends. I've got a friend who's an attorney in New Jersey. He's a wonderful man. His father was ill for a while. Still helps out his mother. God bless him. He's a great guy. I've got my other friend who's got two kids, and I care about those children. I love those children. They're just great.
Well, let me tell you something about tires. When me and my girlfriend drove from San Diego through the Sonora Desert, the whole length of the Baja Peninsula to Cabo San Lucas, 24 hours total, she had 4 new tires put on her vehicle and made sure they were balanced properly because she knew the importance of having good tires. And when you're riding through the friggin' desert with no Wi-Fi and no cell phone signal. So
That's right. You can't risk having a flat tire or having an out of balance tire.
Right.
The company I used to work for, and I will not mention the name. I will not mention the people I worked with because that isn't fair.
Okay.
But I live in a trailer, so I have glassware. I have wine glasses. I have glass plates.
Right.
And I have a French press coffee maker, which I use on the weekends.
Oh, like the boat. Yeah.
Saturday morning, I wake up. I'm up every morning at 5 o'clock. I have a living alarm clock, actually. Her name is Gulliver. She is an 18-year-old female unfixed cat who wakes me up every morning at 5 o'clock so I can feed her. And she knows when she wakes me up, I can't go back to sleep, so she's happy. So she's very vindictive, and I love her to death. My cat is like my child.
Well, they want to be fed.
Well, no, she's like my child. She loves me. She, when it's cold and I don't want to run the heat, like tonight it's going to be 28. I'm in a trailer. I'll leave the heat at 50. So by 4 o'clock in the morning, I've got her little friend Ziva, which is a Hebrew name, which means sunshine.
Right.
And I've got Gulliver, and they're laying on both sides of my head while I'm sleeping. And I love it because they're very. One is very vocal, one is very quiet. She looks at you, and you can tell she's figuring things out. But what I'm getting at is, you've got to balance your tires. my trailer tires are balanced. And people say, why would you balance trailer tires? And I said, because when the tire shakes, it puts extra stress on the axles and bearings and brakes. And then it's also shaking everything inside of your home if you live in your trailer.
Hey, I'm very close friends with Jerry Beningo. He grew up in a tire business, Beningo's Tire Exchange in Garfield, and it's a family-owned business, and they've been around forever. And you know what? He made a very good living from that business. So I mean, it's
It's about keeping your customers happy. Now, this job I just took it deals with a lot of big companies, and I've immediately put two of the companies' worries to bed. I kept my customers happy at my last job. The customer is important to me, which means I'm that mainstream America.
Yeah, those
that
big
everybody
rigs,
keeps
those big rigs.
Big rigs.
Big rigs.
Everybody keeps talking about mainstream America, and nobody really knows what it is. And mainstream America is not just the business owners. It is those employees that actually care about the customer. And they care about the customer not only because it's another human being that you're putting their life in your hand, but it's also about keeping your job.
Well,
you need that company. You need that company to stay around so you can work. And the middle class has been just railed against, and it needs to stop.
Well, let me give you an example. Compare the difference between a Petco or a PetSmart kid, a millennial that works there as a retail employee. Compare their knowledge with a family-owned business like, let's say, Reef Encounter over on Hudson Street in Hackensack, where
Stuffy's up on Hamburg Turnpike in Pumpkin Lake,
where you have employees that have expertise. And it's like going to a franchise of True Value Hardware, and having somebody with knowledge and expertise actually helping you and advising you.
Exactly. We have let these companies, for some reason, I don't know why, the American spirit after 1976 went down the crapper the way it did, because that's what it did.
And these
I changed the toilet today at a customer's location.
Right.
I was, that's not in my description, but I did it, and I'll tell you why I did it. Because I know that is going to put, first of all, a good mark on my record. And second of all, I'm a human being. And I know that, number one, hey, this guy's had problems before, let's handle the issue, let's just change the unit and be done with it. It took me an hour.
Well,
hour out of my day.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. I got paid.
But you know how to do it.
And it's not only that, but that's another thing about the millennials. They don't know how to do anything. They can't change a tire on a car. They can't put a spare tire on a car. And let me tell you something. I knew how to change a tire on a car by the time I was 5 or 8 years old, because I watched my father do it. And there is another issue. It's not just, you're blaming these kids. And I can agree with you a little bit, about 70%. A lot of it has to do with the kids. But that other 30%, well, maybe even more than that, I would say 40% of the problem is the family life. James, when you have inactive parents who don't care because they're busy either with their own lives or they're on that welfare that we've spoken about three or four times, where if you're receiving welfare, again, this is another abuse of power against the middle class.
Well, they don't get that much in New Jersey.
You said it. I don't care what color you are, James. If you are unlawfully, illegally, criminally collecting welfare, you are a criminal. I don't care what color you are. You could be Latino. You could be Latino. You could be Caucasian. You could be American Indian. You could be Indian. You could be Chinese, Japanese, African American.
Hold on.
It doesn't matter.
Octomom was very Caucasian, and she abused the system. Octomom.
But I wasn't old enough to do anything about it. Actually, it wasn't that, James. It was the fact that I was in my 20s. I had just buried both parents, and I was trying to fill that emptiness with every drug I could find. And I'm not going to lie. In my early 20s, did I do drugs? Yeah. You know why? I just buried both my parents within a year of each other.
Well, I did crazy
I was alone.
I did crazy shit when I first started going to clubs and bars. I could. That's another talk show.
Listen, we learn from those. We learn from those experiences, and we move on, and we find something else to fill that hole that is gaping in us.
Well,
personally,
you have an
empty. Personally, I like to know that the people I'm speaking to are learning from what I'm saying, and I'll tell you why.
You have a void. You had a void. Yes.
No. I did have a void. Go ahead.
Yes. I hear you.
I had a void that was emptiness and a hollow feeling. And I'll tell you what, I looked great, but was I functioning? Barely. Was I contributing? Yeah, with taxes that were taken out of my paycheck, but I wasn't contributing.
Yeah, but people that people that have voids, that find the Lord and associate with others that are interested in Bible study and finding the Lord, that tends to fill up like a dentist putting fillings. That tends to fill up a lot of voids.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because I was going to mention that. I've got a friend of mine who has 5 children. He is a devout Christian man. I went to church with him. He's 10 years older than me. So he's going to be 50 in 2 years, and I'm going to be 40. And when he calls me or I call him, James, when I answer the phone, I say, "Brother in Christ." And he said, "Brother in Christ, how are you?" I said, "I'm well." And we grew up about 5 blocks away from each other, but I knew him from my church.
Right.
He eventually became a youth leader, and I became one of his youth students. Lots of fun has been had. But when I fell back to the Bible, and I realized that God works in ways, and He will not give you something you can't handle. He has given me a challenge. I have 3 brothers that live in New Jersey, and I should be a real asshole and give you their names, but I won't.
Okay.
2 of them live in Wayne, 1 of them live in Halden, and they live less than 12 miles from me. In fact, one of my great friends who I go visit on a regular basis, because I'm in the area, lives 2 blocks away from one of my siblings.
Okay.
And when I'm over there, my sibling will drive by his house and not even stop to say hello.
Huh.
So my Lord has given me some adversity in my life. And He has given me this for a reason. 1, He wanted to see if I could handle it. And apparently I have. And 2, He wanted to see if I could survive it. And obviously I have, because we are speaking today.
Yes.
My Lord has given me my strength. My faith is my strength. My faith. When Joy Bayer said that if you feel that Jesus talks to you, you are mentally ill, that was a direct insult to my faith and what I believe. And it's not that God talks to me, but every night when I go to bed, I lay on my back and I thank whatever energy that's out there for what I have. And it's not much. James, it's 250 square feet of mobile trailer. And you know what? It's mine. I own it. I love it. I use it every day. and that's it.
Did I ever tell you that? Well, I have a friend that I perform with. He's a performing artist. He's also he became I think he became an ordained minister, but he's not affiliated with a building, a church, so to speak. He talks
I
about
understand.
he talks
Like,
yeah, he talks about.
do you remember that? Wait. Do you remember that song by, um, what's his name? Brother Loves Traveling Salvation Show. Do you remember that song?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
You've never heard that song? It's by Neil Diamond.
Oh, if I heard it,
Brother Loves Traveling Salvation Show.
No, I never heard that song before.
You've got to listen to that song because there are churches. I don't know how often you've traveled through the United States, but when I go from here to South Carolina, when I get into Florence, South Carolina, there is a tent. It's off in some. It's out in the field, out in rural Florence, South Carolina, and I take my trailer and my GMC, and I drive. I travel off the main 95, and I go up into Florence, and I will spend a week there to hear this man give a sermon on a Sunday. And it's in a field under a tent.
Yeah, because he's like
not a building.
He's like the early Christians. You don't need your ministry does not require an elaborate building. You know,
correct.
It could be anything.
There's no crucifix. There's no hanging Jesus. There's this man with his Bible, and every time I go see him, it could be a year, it could be 4 years. James, the last time I saw him was over 3 years ago, and I hadn't seen him before that for 4 years. And when I walked up, I said, "Reverend," he said, "Joshua, how are you?" And I said, "I haven't seen this man in 4 years. He probably sees tens of thousands of parishioners every year." And he remembered my name. And that tells me we are connected. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or Hispanic.
Yeah,
we are connected.
There's no stained glass. It's just it could be anywhere. He could be standing in an orchard of peach trees or apple trees and preach. You could, like the early Christians. It could be anywhere.
You're right. And it's not about going back to that era. It's about maintaining it. I understand that we have things pulling our society in thousands of different directions. We can't deny that. We cannot deny that. But we have to realize that as we move forward as a group of Homo sapiens that are supposedly educated, we need to realize that things are coming to light.
Yeah.
We need to realize what is necessary in our bodies and in our minds and in our spirits. Because we've seen, if you look at Seattle, Washington, if you look at Oakland, California, if you look at San Francisco, by the way, I must tell you, San Francisco, their city hall has put out a human, and I don't mean to be so graphic, but I'm going to, a human feces app.
Really?
Feces.
Really?
Human excrement.
Ugh.
Because their homeless population and their migrant population has exploded exponentially bigger than they thought.
Well, L.A. too.
There are people actually excreting their feces on the street.
Lovely.
And there's an app you can download for Apple and Android phones that shows you where the piles of feces are. And that should tell you something, James. If that doesn't wake people up to what's going on around them, then those people are brain dead and unsalvageable.
Right. Well, listen.
It's like that rollover that happens on the highway.
Yeah.
That car is totaled.
You can't blame the poor. The rich have always waged war on the poor. The system is broken from.
And I'm not. No.
The system is broken from the top down. From the top down.
You misunderstood. You misunderstood. And I'll tell you why. because these people that are living on the streets
Yeah.
are not American citizens.
Oh.
These people are not American citizens. Now, I have a neighbor who's an iron worker. He's a great guy. Love him to death. Awesome dude. My age, born in 1980. He's an iron worker, and he walks the steel every day. We're both blue-collar guys. He makes more than me because his job is obviously more dangerous.
Yes.
But he said what people have forgotten is that we have lost oversight. If you want to, again, no matter what you want to talk about, you want to talk about millennials, you want to talk about the abuse of the middle class, you want to talk about the elitists, you have forgotten, number one, we outnumber the elitists 10 to 1.
True.
10 to 1.
True.
So let that sink in to all the people listening. And by the way, I have a question. Is the chat room up? Because I'm wondering if that gentleman who's always asking questions is available.
No,
I hope he's
somebody
listening.
is watching. We had 2 people watching now. Someone is watching, but you're talking about Kyle Cap, the one that no, he went from throwing 1,001 questions at us to 0 because I told.
Well, then maybe Kyle Cap. Kyle, I hope you're listening, Kyle. Maybe you're understanding what we're talking about, because people who text or chat all the time aren't using their brain.
Listen, you know
you need to think about what we're saying.
You know how many people try to show how brilliant they are in text over on Facebook, but it turns out they don't even vote in every major election. I told them, I'm not interested in hearing your opinion unless you vote in every single major election.
The problem is, but you need to have it. But voting is not just the issue, James. Voting is one of the issues. You need to have informed people voting, and I hope that you have listened to that speech by Kennedy. And I don't know if you can pull it up while we're live streaming, but maybe you should play that speech for a few minutes, so that people who are watching
JFK
can watch that speech.
I'll have to look it up.
Because everything we're speaking about today, everything that we are encompassing today in this 360-degree circle, on this globe spinning in deep space around a star, has been spoken about before.
Hey, the Charlie Chaplin speech.
It has been spoken about.
It was heavy duty.
In more recent days.
Also. Oh, okay.
We lost Barbara Bush this week.
Yeah, you know something, Barbara Bush. Let me tell you something. Let them eat cake.
Wait.
The woman said that the Katrina victims should have been grateful to sleep on the floor of the New Orleans Superdome. Shame on you.
You know why she's... No.
Yeah, she
Here's
said
the deal.
She said
no, wait a minute. I have friends that live in Louisiana. I have friends, and I lost friends in that hurricane.
I have I have one.
And wait a minute. I want to quote one of my friends 2 days before the hurricane hit full force. We're having a hurricane party. We're going to sit here and drink beers and wait for it to fly over us.
Wait for it to fly
I
over.
said, hold on. I said, stop. I said, you're 13 and a half feet below sea level and you live in a 1-floor bedroom apartment. She said, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine, huh? Okay.
Hold on. Those people that were sleeping in the Superdome knew, they were warned, they were told repeatedly, and I remember this because it was 2005. I remember this. They were told, evacuate, go to higher ground, it's going to flood. You're going to be fucked. And that's what they should have said. In fact, they should have said, Get the fuck out now. You're gonna be fucked.
Like in other words, in South Florida, when let's say Hurricane Andrew hit, if you don't get your ass out of that
My
region,
aunt and uncle who lived in Margate, James.
I know
My
Margate.
aunt and uncle who lived in Margate hooked up to their 21-foot Starcraft camper, and they hauled it to my parents' house in Wayne, New Jersey.
Wow. And I know South Florida
You know,
very well. I know
you know why?
Jupiter. I know the Florida Keys. Yeah. Why?
They moved it there
Because they have to.
because they knew Hurricane Andrew was going to just devastate their area.
Well, it's not only South Florida.
You know why they knew that?
What about
Do
Cape
you know why they
Hatteras?
knew that?
Yeah.
Do you know why they knew that? Because they had the availability and the ability to have competent thought.
Well,
You got to understand. You always speak about millennials, and I understand. You're an older generation, so you see this, and it really pisses you off. It pisses you off. Let's be honest about it. The millennials piss you off, yes or no?
They treat me like like I belong in a glue factory, like an old horse. Yeah, yeah, they piss me off.
Okay, so they piss you off.
Yeah. But it's not the
James,
only thing, though.
James, they piss me off too. And you know why they piss me off?
Because they don't
Because
respect
the knowledge.
They don't respect.
No, it's not that. It's not any of that. They have been taught to do exactly what they're doing without the oversight. We could talk about taxes.
To be a selfish prick motherfucker. They were taught to be that way.
No. We could talk about taxes, millennials, elitists, but we are only talking. What needs to happen is very plain and simple.
Yeah.
At one point in time, everybody who believes what we believe needs to rise up and say, and I hate to be so, cliche, but there was a song written back in 1984. It's by Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
And the name of the song is We're Not Gonna Take It.
I know that song. Yeah.
Okay, well, when I first heard that song, I was sitting in our living room in Wayne, New Jersey, which my father built a buck-the-board house because he didn't have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And we were watching the movie Iron Eagle. You remember that movie, Iron Eagle?
Yeah.
Lou Gossett Jr.?
Right.
Well, we were watching this movie, and when they went into the first fight scene, about three-quarters of the way through the movie, he turned that little recorder, that tape player on that he had. He put his headphones in, and it went, and it was We're Not Going to Take It. And now, thanks to YouTube, I got to give YouTube credit, because I love the fact that people can upload stuff that doesn't get really mangled. And I read the lyrics. And it's a song about government taking way too much control. And the middle class saying, we're not going to take it.
Yeah,
now, there's another song that I listen to.
The government's on the take from the CEOs of corporate America. That's why. But I understand.
So why are we not? Yeah. Why are we not stopping this, James?
Because
why we're not stopping this?
The people
because it has not hit home yet. It has not hit home, and we have an unintelligent youth that is coming up behind us that is going to back the corporations and not us.
You have military personnel and fascist stormtrooper police officers that I don't know. Some cops get paid a lot of money. Some don't get paid as much, depending on where they are. But they have forgotten their roots, where they came from. So they are like mercenaries. They're thugs for
And
hire.
that therein lies the problem.
The fat
Here's the
cats.
deal.
The fat cats pay them to rough up the very people that they grew up with, the same middle class and mainstream America that they grew up in. So they're hired to rough up the, the we the people.
Well, you want to know something funny? I told the story about me getting stopped in Virginia, but I got stopped in Pennsylvania. I had my South Carolina tag on a truck that had almost 1,000,000 miles on it. And the cop pulled me over. It was a state trooper, and he pulls me over, and he walks up next to the truck on the right-hand side. He goes, "Put the window down." He yells it.
Oh, he yelled.
And I said, I can't put the window. I said, I can't put the window down. They're not powered. You're going to have to come to the driver's side. We came to the driver's side, and I opened the window about 3/4 of an inch. And he said, "You know why I'm standing here?" And James, my answer was this, and I meant it wholeheartedly and in fact. I looked straight at him, and I said it loud enough so he could hear it through the 3/4 of an inch crack in the window.
Right.
I said, because you got all C's in high school? He looked at me, and he was about, I want to say he was about 5 years younger than me at the time. And he looked at me and said, he said, "Get the fuck out of here." I said, "Have a nice day." Because he was not expecting that. And James, I've told you this, and I've told the listeners this. In my truck at any given time,
right,
there are at least 2 copies of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence and a copy of the Citizens Rule Book, including jurisprudence, and a copy of my Bible.
Right.
If you search my vehicle unlawfully, illegally, without a warrant, I will quote those lines to you while you are illegally searching my vehicle.
Now, if a police
and I will I will record it.
If a police officer insists on looking through your wallet and your trunk of your vehicle and under your car seats and your glove compartment and everything except your anus, that will be considered unlawful search, correct?
That is the Fourth Amendment. We are protected against unlawful search and seizure of our private property, our papers, and effects. Now, here's the deal. There's a difference between driving and traveling. If I'm pulling my trailer, my home, with my personal conveyance, which is a GMC Yukon, I pay my taxes on those vehicles in South Carolina. Now, when I'm traveling, and you can look this up, it's called the Black's Law Dictionary. There was a law professor named Mr. Black. He was an incredibly smart man, and it was written in 1903 when motor cars just started to come out. And if you were performing commerce on the public roads, give me 1 second here. Oh, you did? Oh, you did. If you were performing commerce, meaning hauling passengers, hauling cargo, hauling freight, operating under, are you aware that the licenses for driving, because driving means you are performing commerce, were issued by the employers? So if you worked for, let's say you worked for Mavis Tire, they would be issuing you your license. But when you went home at night, you didn't have a license to operate your personal conveyance. Right. So if you drove a 1912 Model T or Model A, you didn't need a license to operate that because you were not performing commerce. You were not making money while operating. Now I have a company vehicle, so when I'm driving that company vehicle, I am performing commerce for the company I work for.
Right.
But when I'm hauling my camper and I'm hauling it with my personal conveyance, technically, I don't even have to have a license plate on it because it is private property and it is being operated on a public road which I pay taxes to maintain.
Right.
Therefore, I own that road.
Right.
And so do you. But because we have these, again, these elitists who are out of fucking control, they're out of control.
Yeah.
We have people, I just heard today, I'm a big 770 AM listener. During the day, I don't listen to any radio. My cell phone is hooked to a Bluetooth in the truck, so my GPS goes through the speakers. And then I'm hooked to another device, my Bluetooth in my ear, so I can have phone calls. So while I'm driving, I can hit a little button or say answer, and I can listen to what's going on.
Yeah.
But I normally in the evening on the way home, I listen to Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro is a very smart man. He's younger than me. He's a millennial, but he's super intelligent, and his parents raised him that way. He's married. He has a kid. He has a daughter. I can't stand his voice, but I listen to him because he's smart.
Okay.
You've got to realize that because we have an uneducated system, we have an uneducated populace, especially the millennials.
Well, it's a dumbed down academia. American academia has been dumbed down. Yes.
Well, it didn't start there. It didn't start there, James. And I've been telling you and the listeners the last time I was on and the time before that you need to have the appropriate chemicals in your body to function at its highest level. I tell people you've got to take iodine. Yes. Because fluoride is a bad halogen.
Well, sodium
and
fluoride
is your body.
Is the toxic fluoride, right?
It's rat poison. It's rat poison.
Okay.
And it's funny, if you look up the EPA guidelines, if you dump sodium fluoride in any public waterway, lake, stream, wetlands, ocean, it is considered an act of terrorism. Did you know that?
Wow.
Under the EPA guidelines? It's an act of terrorism. However, your local municipalities, folks in Bergen County, folks in San Diego County, all these counties, Michigan is where it started first.
Yeah, Flint, Michigan.
No, not Flint. In Michigan, the whole state.
Oh, okay.
They started dumping, in 1947, they put sodium fluoride in the water.
Okay.
Now, if you do your research and you look at history, when our troops liberated Auschwitz, there were 100,000 Jews there. 100,000 Jews.
Wow.
And there was only 1,000 troops, 1,000 guards. Now, if you're good at math, you could do the math there. The math is 100 to 1. That means 100 people to one guard with a gun. Well, when our scientists tested the water reservoirs at these concentration camps, their water was 75 parts per million sodium fluoride. Do you know why the Germans used sodium fluoride, James?
Well, it's part of a specific depopulation program.
Wrong. it is part of a depopulation program, but it goes much deeper than that. Sodium fluoride actually calcifies, it turns to stone your pineal gland. Not your penile gland, your pineal gland, which is in your brain.
But it's part of the hypothalamus or the pituitary.
No, not the hypothalamus. It's not part of the
The
hypothalamus.
pituitary?
No, it's the pineal gland. It's the gland.
The third eye.
It's the gland.
Yes.
Wait, yes, it is your third eye. It's the gland that sits between your brain stem and your brain itself.
Yes.
And it controls everything. If you notice people that are in areas that have well water, they can tell when a storm's coming.
Yeah.
Before the news releases it, or they can tell when there's a deer on their property that they can hunt.
Well, I have a pair of divining rods.
It gives you that sixth sense that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
I have copper divining rods. Dowsing. I know about the.
Okay, so we need to have iodine in the water system. In 1973, Wonder Bread was the first company to remove iodine from their recipe. Now, I'll be honest with you, I make homemade bread.
Yeah.
And when I activate the yeast, not only do I add brown sugar and salt to the water, but I add 3 drops of nascent iodine. And I'll tell you what, that bread not only tastes better, but I know it's healthier for me.
Yeah, well, now, a lot of people don't realize that disease loves an acid environment. But if you have an alkalized body,
yes, sir.
If your body is alkalized and you consume alkalizing foods, you have a healthy environment. A what do they say? Homeostasis. Homeostasis.
Cancer can only grow in a very acidic environment.
True.
So if you keep your water intake at neutral levels, and you eat the right foods, and you have nascent iodine in your system, and you take the appropriate amount of vitamin D.
Yes.
I use a liquid vitamin D supplement. I use a liquid vitamin B12 supplement. And I'm going to mention it, and I don't care if they kick us off. I buy Survival Shield X2 nascent iodine from InfoWarsStore.com.
That's okay.
And I'll tell you why.
That's okay.
I'll tell you why. Because I had bought nascent iodine through Amazon. I was an Amazon customer. I'm guilty. Oh, you better hang me now.
Well, me too.
I'm guilty.
Well, me too.
But here's the deal. When I found out they didn't pay any income tax, federal income tax, on over $900 billion a year,
oh man,
I was quite pissed off. Anyway, I started ordering my nascent iodine through InfoWarsStore.com, and when I got it, I still had some nascent iodine left from Amazon, and I compared the colors.
Mm-hmm.
And the nascent iodine I got from InfoWars was 10 times more concentrated. One bottle with a medicine dropper in it has lasted me almost 3 months.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, my brain is clearer. I used to drink a 6-pack and a 40-ounce of beer a night. Now I drink on Friday night, and that's it.
Yeah. Now you know what's an excellent supplement too. It's called Spirulina pacifica by Nutrex. They use Pacific Ocean water to mineralize, to increase the mineral content of the spirulina algae. So it's like taking kelp, but way beyond kelp. You know, it's a
Can I tell you that? Can I tell you why there's a problem with that?
The spirulina.
It's it's one word.
Fukushima?
It's a name.
Fukushima?
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Fukushima
And
radiation.
here's the difference between kelp iodine and the iodine I get through that other location.
Right.
The iodine I get through InfoWarsStore.com is from 7,000 feet below the Earth's surface, so it is completely 100% radiation free.
That's very important to share with our listeners, and might even be a great topic for the next show. Now, Fukushima. I hear the Japanese government refuses any international help with their disaster as they dump God knows how many tons of radioactive material into the Pacific Ocean. The Japanese, they seem like separatists, like they don't want any outside influence or assistance or help. But meanwhile, it's okay for them to poison the Pacific Ocean and the world, actually.
It's not okay for them to do that.
No,
and here's the deal about
it's not
Japan.
okay, but they don't care. They have an apathetic approach to it,
Emperor, who was the emperor during World War II?
Hirohito.
Okay. After they bombed Pearl Harbor and their fleet returned to Japan via the Aleutian Islands,
Tojo was
his Secretary of War
Tojo
came to him and told him that the mission was successful. And the Emperor of Japan looked at him and said, "I fear we have made a mistake and we have woken a sleeping giant."
That is true. And guess what? FDR was warned by Chinese intelligence that not to trust the Japanese at that time. And FDR ignored it.
Exactly. And FDR ignored it because back in the 40s, there was still this, you got to understand something. People think this happened after World War II. This has been going on for 200 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not 200 years. This has been going on since 1840. People that I know, that I trust, have done research on this, and there are white papers available to the public that show this genocide depopulation plan from like 1840. So this has been going on for hundreds of years, and no one wants to realize it, James, because if they realize it, they're going to have to admit to themselves that, holy fuck, I've been lied to. Now, Bill Hicks said something. He said that he loves, Bill Hicks was a great comedian, but he was very smart. And I don't know what your thoughts on mushrooms are, but I'll tell the listeners this.
Mushrooms? I mean medicinal mushrooms?
Magic mushrooms.
Oh, they replace lost brain cells.
Correct. You and I need to speak more often. We need to do this show 3 times a week.
The magic
psychedelic
mushrooms. Yes.
Can I tell you a personal experience and the listeners?
Yeah. Well, you want to save it for the next show because we're running late.
We're running late, but you know what? I might as well blow it out now and be done with it, and then we can go on. All right. So, once a year, no matter what, I go to a friend's property out in Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I bring with me mushrooms, and I take them at his property, and I drink a ton of water, and I lay in a field. Mushrooms in Europe currently are being used to treat migraine, and they're actually curing the problem. We are on this planet because we are organic beings, and you need to have those organic beings. But Bill Hicks said it great. I don't know if anybody listens or reads Terence McKenna. You should look up Terence McKenna because you would enjoy it. he said Bill Hicks used to go to this place in Fredericksburg, Texas. That's in the northern square corner of Texas.
Oh,
It was a friend's ranch.
by Amarillo, Midland.
More north of that, but he would go there with some friends of his every year.
The Panhandle.
And the Panhandle. He would eat what Terrence McKenna would call a heroic dose, 5 dried grams of mushrooms. And he told his audience, and I wish your audience and our audience would look up Phil Hicks, and definitely, James, I know you didn't listen to it. I'm thinking I'm going to have to sit you in my company vehicle, and we're going to have to listen to this. You've got to listen to the speech of JFK at the Waldorf Astoria. You have to.
I'll look it up.
Every one of our listeners has to, because that man told the truth. He said there is a secret society that most Americans find appalling, and we do. I find it appalling. You find it appalling. I'm sure the people who take care of elderly people find it appalling. We need to spread that speech around.
Okay.
Listen to that speech.
Now, before I forget, because I think that the subject of holistic health and nutrition and medicinal plants and herbology, and this could be a whole great another show topic. I mean, mushrooms, forget it. There are literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of different variety of fungi that have not just the poisonous toadstools, but I'm talking about medicinal mushrooms: maitake, shiitake, reishi, changa. There's a mushroom that looks like a piece of burnt wood called changa that is the most medicinal Asian mushroom.
James.
Yes.
James. When I laid in my friend's field and ate 3 grams of dried mushrooms,
you're right.
My brain felt incredible. It cleared up. It was 110%.
Can you imagine?
I felt contact with my family, even though I haven't spoken to them. I could feel the presence of my parents, and I felt the fact that we are all human beings, and we need to figure out how, with sovereign nations, to live together. Because here's the deal. I had a customer at my last job that was English. He was British.
Right.
And I said, "Did you vote for Did you vote for Brexit?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Why should you do that?" And my coworker was standing next to me. And he said, "Because I want to stay bloody English."
Okay.
And I said, "Fair enough. That's all we need to hear. I want to stay American. And that's not going to happen, what we've got going on now. And we need to not only talk about the future, but we need to explain why the future is happening the way it is."
Well, I'm watching,
and I try to bring that up all the time.
I'm watching this series on Netflix about the Revolutionary War, where it's really about the many spies that George Washington sent out, espionage during the Revolutionary War. And let me tell you, there's a lot of things that I was never taught in school, in my history books, that I learned from this series. And I really wish that school textbooks become drastically updated and upgraded, because they're not. They're pathetic.
I think we need to not have textbooks anymore, since we have the children indoctrinated into the technology already.
Right.
Since no matter what it is, and this I've noticed, no matter what it is, it could be a dude taking a shit on camera, and you watch the poop come out of his butthole.
Right.
these kids will watch it and they'll find it interesting.
Oh, it'll go viral, the
So,
video.
so wait a minute. Stop. Let's turn that around on the left. That is where you are not seeing the beauty of a two-sided war. Yes, the left has technology. I do about 1,000 tweets a day. I have 2 accounts. I won't give them out because I don't remember what they are. If I don't go to the little phone and hit the button, I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
But I give my tweets out, and my tweets get retweeted, and they get liked, and they get loved, and they get commented on. Some people call me a misogynist, racist pig. Some people say, I love that. And that's all I need to hear. But the deal is that if we don't learn about what happened first, we're not going to be able to stop what's happening coming down the road.
Oh, I'm on Twitter. I have a Progressive Discussions Twitter account. But
why didn't you send me the link? You got to send me the link so I can follow you. And you can follow me.
It's easy. It's twitter.com/megalife21. That's all.
Well, I'll tell you what. As soon as we're done having our progressive discussion, which I got to tell you, James, I feel like I can tell the listeners and you what's really in my brain. And I like the fact that you can tell me that on your end.
Well,
I would love for the listeners to get involved. I would love to have a second phone line. And now that I have a better job, maybe I should get an internet line that can support a phone line, and we could take phone calls.
Well, if you're
I would love.
If you're able to have a Wi-Fi access to let's say you got yourself a smartphone and you had Wi-Fi access, we could, I mean, I don't know how you feel about being Dr. Remulak with your headshot showing on the air like I'm doing, but
I'm getting more comfortable with that because I want people to see me for who I am. I want people to see what I believe. And that is important to me. I don't care what you tell me, James. I got to tell you the truth here. And the fact of the matter is that we, the people, have been taken advantage of. We've been abused. We've been mistreated. And it's not fair. And it needs to end because this attack on the middle class is an absurd, disgusting, unbelievably immoral endeavor, and it needs to stop. Because people like you and I, who have worked, who I'm still working, and you've worked, we've paid into the system. We don't know where the money goes. It's obviously not going to our schools. We see that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
We see that. I mean, listen, if the money was going to our schools, I'd be all right with that. But I know for a fact, whether you believe it or not, but I know for a fact that's not going to our schools. Because if you speak to the teachers that are candid about the situation, sir, that will scare the living life out of you. These kids, that 45% of the classes don't speak English.
Listen, I had a teacher.
Fuck is going on?
I had a teacher in tech school that was supposed to be the computer professor that didn't know a damn thing about Linux distributions, how everything is free on Linux, and there's no, you don't need an antivirus for Linux like you do on Windows, and he knew nothing about it. So there's a lot of incompetent teachers and professors out there. And I just want to mention about my friend Ken, the minister and the performing artist. You know how he found the Lord? He hit rock bottom with drugs, heavy duty drugs. He hit rock
Oh
bottom,
my
and
God.
it saved his ass. And while his friends died of overdoses, he saved his ass by finding the Lord. I just wanted to say that early in the show. And before you criticize, and not you, I mean, before anyone out there puts down a middle class occupation, remember the plumber that you make fun of, that you mock, that you trivialize. He's the guy that comes to fix or replace your furnace in the wintertime. And if you happen to have severe sewer backup or clogged drains, he's the guy that's going to come and fix that. So be careful who you mock as far as a middle class trade or occupation, like we were talking
It
about.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do for a living. If you are contributing, I work with some people that you would see on the street and say, no way that guy's legal. No way that guy's an American citizen. And yet, when you speak to these people, they speak perfect English. They understand the American way. They understand the American people. And that is what needs to happen in this country.
Hey,
Again,
yeah.
I am not anti-immigrant.
Right.
I am not anti-color. I am not a racist. I am a Christian American. I am a Christian first, an American second. I am a patriot. I love my country.
Right.
I love the American people. I love our way of life. And that is what this show and the people that listen to it should be concerned about. America, the land of the free. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, the constitutional republic. The Constitution is the law of the land.
Yeah.
And I don't know where these people get off changing that. We are not a democracy.
Yeah.
We're a constitutional republic.
Now,
End of story.
I want to, well, besides say goodnight, I want to mention that next time, in my initial little monologue, I want to tell the story of how I had a dispute with the people who run True TV Facebook page involving what they did with Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory shows, and they cursed.
I am looking forward to that.
They cursed me out, and I cursed them out back, and I find it really strange that they never played the reruns, not even during a late night time slot on the weekends. Nothing, zero. They took
not even on YouTube.
They they might very well be on YouTube, but what I'm saying is, True TV is where Jesse had the show, and it was running, I guess, once a week. And after they started pulling, after they pulled his show off the air, starting with the FEMA camp episode, right? They weren't crazy about the HARP episode either. Once they pulled them off, they pulled him off. You didn't even see his reruns anymore. And True TV, I had a battle of words that weren't too pleasant with them because I thought it was a damn good show, and so did a lot of other friends of mine, and I really felt bad.
I've seen that show, and I'll tell you what, everything he's saying in it is true. HARP is actually built on a naval base or an air base, and it's if you go to Alaska right now, you can see it. It's in Gakona, Alaska, Gakona.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it's an amazing place, and yes, they are effing with our planet.
Well, Jesse Ventura did an episode with Alex Jones about Bohemian Grove. And also,
Yes, they did.
and also, Jesse's people, Jesse's contacts have confirmed that they saw Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton attend the Bilderberg meeting. Um, uh, that's
That is also true.
that, yeah, right, exactly. We'll go into more detail. But listen, thank you for joining us. We had a great show. What can I say? Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
All right, you too.